Welcome to week 7 of the 52-week art journal journey. It's also Valentine's week, so I figured this would be a good time to do a heart project. So you'll need your journal and a paintbrush. You probably don't want one that's in too great shape because you'll also need some Mod Podge or some white glue mixed with a little water. You need some scissors and tissue paper. This is the bleeding tissue paper I mentioned in the suggested supplies, but any tissue paper will do. If you don't have any tissue paper, you might be able to get away with construction paper or if you have some colored printer paper. But tissue paper would probably work best. As you see, I have several colors and I have a pen. You could use any pen or pencil or colored pencil. You could use the pen or pencil that you'll do your journaling with. Remember, when we're working on a single page project like this that will take some time to dry, you'll want to work, if you're right-handed, you'll want to work on your left-hand page. And if you're left-handed, you'll want to work on your right-hand page. That way, while your art is drying, you can do your journaling without getting into the wet stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is make our tissue paper into a relatively neat pile. You don't need very large pieces. Mine aren't even all the same size. It doesn't need to be perfect. And it makes it easier to cut a heart shape. You can fold them in half. And we'll cut our half heart. So we end up with a pile of hearts. And remember, scraps are fun. We can use scraps in other projects, or maybe later. Before we do anything with our hearts, let's draw a heart on the page we're going to make our art on. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is not. And you know what? I don't think I threw away that pen that gave out on me when we were doing the blind contour drawing, and it's being persnickety again today. So our hearts, they can take a beating in the course of life, can't they? Things happen and they can hurt. They can make us feel all crushed. And maybe sometimes it feels like our heart has been torn, broken. Things happen in life that hurt us. And loss, as we've talked about before, is a natural part of life. And although we can know that, that doesn't mean it's easy. So our hearts, our tissue paper hearts, are getting a little beat up by this thing called life. You can tear them, you can crinkle them up. Have you ever felt like your heart's been beaten up? How does your heart feel now? As long as our hearts are beating, we have the potential for healing. So we're going to take these beat up pieces of heart and we're going to piece them together with our Mod Podge or our white glue. So we can paint our heart. And we can start putting pieces back together. You can shape things around the edges and spread them down through. Pieces are sticking up. You can sort of paint them down This is rather a thick piece. Probably don't want to work with something that thick if you're not working with tissue paper. And even with tissue paper, you might choose to make things a little easier. If you want to make things easier on edges, feel free to use scissors. So if you want to, you could round this off here. You can tear. Whatever works to piece this heart together. Because although we're not only the sum of our experiences, they all have their impact on us. As I said, this is the bleeding tissue paper. So you can see in my glue, my Mod Podge, that some of the color is spreading. As I said, it's not necessary for this project. So with our tissue paper, we can make fun shapes and some texture. So get creative. Have some fun putting your heart together. So for journaling today, why don't you think of a specific experience when it felt like your heart was torn or crushed or broken? You got through it. And you're here today making art. Does your heart feel healed from that experience? Or are you feeling like it will never be the same again? The thing is, through all of our experiences, we are never quite the same again. But whether they're experiences we enjoyed or they hurt, life keeps going. Maybe sometimes even when we wish it wouldn't. But as I said, as long as we have life, we can heal. Am I saying it's always easy? Of course not. But as we've talked about when we talked about emotions, just ignoring things doesn't fix them. We need to acknowledge that we've been hurt. How could you heal from something you don't admit is broken or damaged? This is true about ourselves, and it's true about our relationships. And maybe one of those things that hurt you was the result of something someone else did. And maybe part of your healing will involve forgiving that person. Forgiveness isn't an easy thing. Forgiveness can be even more difficult when we think it requires more in our situation than it does. Forgiveness doesn't mean giving up necessary boundaries. It doesn't necessarily mean having the same relationship with the person who hurt you as you had before. But it does mean letting go of your need to punish that person. It does mean being willing to let go of the pain. So it does mean setting yourself free. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. And I'm not saying it's a once and done thing either. You may find yourself revisiting the pain and the anger and needing to let it go again. So yes, our hearts change as we go through life. They can feel like they expand when we fall in love or make new friends or become a parent. They can feel like they shrink when we're hurt. They can feel shattered. Feelings ebb and flow. And healing is always possible. So if you think about that situation, what do you think it would require for you to heal? Or if you already feel healed, what happened? What did you do that brought about that healing? And it's never just as simple as just time, is it? So if you're still waiting for or seeking healing, think about what in the situation is within your power to change. We can't change other people, and we can't always change all of our circumstances, especially not all at once. And if it feels like too much and too big, maybe you need to talk to someone else about it. Maybe that can help you with your perspective, but also give you someone to help bolster your strength and courage. Maybe it's getting back to your faith and its root truths. Maybe it's about letting go of something, some unmet expectation that allows you to rationalize not moving forward. And maybe you just need to give yourself a break, let yourself off the hook. We are imperfect people in imperfect relationships with imperfect people in an imperfect world. And because of all that imperfection, all that brokenness and pain and suffering, it can seem like we have an imperfect God also. Feeling like things had to make more sense to me, that things had to feel more like I thought they should, is something that I'm learning to let go of so that I can move forward in my faith and continue to grow more whole. To be honest, I'd like to be able to give everyone watching this video with a damaged heart, everyone in the world who hurts and longs for healing, some type of magic healing band-aid, but that's not something I can do. It's not something any person can do. We can't heal others. We can only do the work required in our own healing, which includes letting go and letting it happen. We can support our loved ones, our family members, our friends, our church families, our communities, as needs arise. And the more whole we are, the more equipped we are to help others. It's important to remember, if you're drawn to helping others, that not everyone's pain is your responsibility. You need to remember that you can't fix it. You can't fix them. And we need to do our best to walk that never-ending line of discerning how we're helping and how we may instead be feeding the brokenness through enabling or allowing others to take advantage instead of taking responsibility for themselves. That is not quite the direction I thought this was going. However, for some of us, healing requires, for a lot of us, healing requires learning how to set healthy boundaries. And that can be hard and can cause situations that will further damage our hearts, but make them stronger and more capable of being a true help to those who need it instead of a doormat for those just taking advantage. So now I'll swing back around to saying what I can do in this context for you is share tools and at times experiences to help you with your experiences and circumstances. I'm sharing art journaling because of the difference it has made for me. I'm encouraging you to make a regular habit of creative self-care because reclaiming my art has changed every area of my life. I need to make art. And if that's you, don't let life stop you. Even if you're here in the 52-week art journal journey, that might not be you. However, you do need to be taking regular time to be creative in a way that is meaningful to you. I have found is part of my purpose and therefore my healing. So take some time to journal about something that deeply hurt your heart. If you feel healed, even if there's a scar that's kind of tight, so when your heart is stretched, it feels a little uncomfortable still. Or if you feel like you still have a gaping wound, journaling is a powerful tool, both to help us process and give us perspective, because sometimes the act of writing the words, putting them right out there in black and white, gives us a power over the pain that we felt like we lacked. If you feel victorious in this area, over this area of hurt, write about what happened, especially what you did in order to get to this point of healing. And then keep your eyes open for opportunities to share what you learned with someone struggling in the same area. And if you're still feeling very broken, my hope and my prayer for you is some perspective, a deeper understanding of the facets of the situation, an unshakable confidence in the fact that you survived it and there will be some beauty from the ashes. You are beautiful, as is your heart. It may feel kind of smashed up or even mangled at times, but you are more than what has happened to you and more than anything you've done that may have hurt others. Your heart is healing, and if you don't know it yet, you're going to know by the end of today's journaling that you want to grow. Thank you for joining me for another 52-week art journal journey prompt. I'll be back next week with another. If you're new here, check the links in the description for more details. If you found value in this video, please like it. Share it with someone else you know could benefit from reclaiming their creativity and establishing a habit of creative self-care. Please follow so you will be notified of each new video. In the description, you can also subscribe to receive a weekly email. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook if you'd like to follow along. Feel free to share any of your artwork that you're comfortable with, and if you do so, please tag me, Melinda Van Rye, or use the hashtag ArtJournalWithMelinda. This prompt is also available in written form on my website. As I said, links in the description. You should find all of those I've mentioned and perhaps more. Thanks again for joining me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish your own habit of creative self-care.